You are listening to the Money Hour at 11:50 a.m. KKNW, the Friday, December 18th virtual show. Because of COVID, our show is temporarily moved virtually. You can listen to our show on podcast or catch us on air on Saturday at 3 p.m. with a rebroadcast on Sunday at 8 a.m. I am your host, Tina Mitchell.
And I'm your co-host, Keelan Harvey.
We bring into studio each week the best of the best experts in our local market when it comes to your money. We're here to help you build a strong financial blueprint. And now in studio, Karen Anderson, a Silver Age Housing and Care Referrals. Everyone wants to stay in their home and age in place, but maybe you should plan for the what if right here at 11:50 a.m. KKNW. Karen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Likewise, and a little bit about Karen. Karen is a housing and care specialist and has been in the elder field since 2004. Before joining Silver Age, she was a family caregiver support specialist. Karen assisted unpaid caregivers in Snohomish County. In this role, she ran 5 support groups per month, helping caregivers navigate through their scenarios, provided one-on-one consultation, and connect to community resources. Karen's education includes a master's in marketing and a bachelor's in accounting. She also holds certificates in aging in place and powerful tools for caregivers. Personally, she is a caregiver for a family member who has transitioned through home care, adult family home, assisted living community, and memory care. Karen assists families with a deep understanding of their challenges, feelings, and scenarios.
Wow, Karen, that's pretty powerful stuff there. You are a rock star in itself as well. So I'd love to hear more about you and the organization and tell our listeners a little bit about how this all came to be.
Yeah, so our owner-founder is Abby Doerr, and she's been in the business over 10 years. And she started out working in an assisted living community and was helping a couple try to figure out what would be their next best scenario. But the assisted living community she worked in was not going to be able to meet that couple's needs. So therefore, she felt bad about letting them walk out the door without actually giving them any answers or hope. And she said, there's got to be a better way to help these people so that they don't feel lost and also very confused. So she went ahead and started her own business, and we are all employees for her. There's 5 of us. We're a small boutique type business versus some that are quite big. So we are able to hold the hand of the individual throughout the entire process of looking for what might next be their best living scenario for them.
I love how the company was inspired, your work was inspired through your own personal experiences. Those make the very best companies. So Karen, why is having a plan for long-term care so important for people to pay attention to?
I can't speak loud enough, vibration enough as to why it is so important to have, because when you don't have a plan, you are no longer in control. You are giving the control over to somebody else, whether that is your children, adult children, or an advocate that you may find, or somebody that actually ends up being from your church or a stranger. And so if you don't plan, you're giving up your options as well. You're not a part of the decision making anymore. You're giving up your choices to somebody else that can actually make those choices for you. So what we recommend, instead of staying in your home being your only option that you're willing to talk about, let's talk about plan A, and that might be staying in your home. Let's talk about plan B. What if you are no longer able to stay in your home? And maybe that is because you're no longer safe because of fraudulent activity from the outside world, or you're no longer safe because you're not able to take care of yourself anymore. And then there's plan C. Maybe you actually end up moving in with somebody. But we're not, when you call us for help, we're not saying you absolutely have to move somewhere today. What we like to do is educate people about what the options are, help them learn about this new world that nobody understands. There's language that is thrown about that people don't understand, and we love holding people's hand throughout that entire process.
So true. I mean, whether we're talking about our first guest, Susie, health, you need to plan. We're talking with our second guest, Peter, and planning for your business. No difference in your line of work as well, but planning is so critically important.
Yeah, Karen, I'm very passionate about this as well. I was a financial advisor and provided long-term care and retirement planning. And I've had 3 grandparents that have gone through long-term care, and the differences in the care they got really made me think about like my situation and my family and how important it is. It's so expensive. It can just wipe out your entire retirement savings or whatever you had that you wanted to leave for others. So, I mean, the point is if you don't do anything now, then your options are getting limited by the day because it doesn't get cheaper as you get older. So the main thing is to don't bury your head in the sand and talk to Karen and figure out what this looks like and how you can prepare for it. And with that being said, what happens in your opinion if they don't pay any attention to it now, or they bury their head, like I was saying?
Well, again, one of the things that we advocate for people to do if they're even remotely wanting to be sniffing around in this world is to get your power of attorney going, and also talk to a financial advisor and find out where you are with your finances. And if you don't do that as well, you're blind to what is available to you. You don't understand exactly what an adult family home looks like. We can actually just go out for an afternoon and play and go look at an assisted living and maybe get a little bite to eat for lunch and go play at an adult family home and just get familiar with what is going on so that it's not so formal. The way that assisted living places look today are so different than they used to before. And people just have, unfortunately, this paradigm of what it was like before with people in the hallways and wheelchairs and just slumped over. It's no longer like that anymore. Yeah. It's actually all about vibrancy and people meeting with other people and having activities and having joy and being vibrant again.
Well, it sounds much better to go out and play and have some lunch than to go out stressed out, have no time for lunch because you need to get into a home right now. That's what no preparation does. Karen, what is your favorite story or a result that you can share today?
It's actually a personal story, as you had mentioned earlier. My mother and father-in-law lived in their home, and my father-in-law was 89 years old, and he, by God, was never going to leave the house. If they were going to take him out, it was in a brown box. And so, unfortunately, his caregiver, my mother-in-law, actually her health failed, and he had full dementia. So talk about scary scenario. Her health failed. She was in the hospital. And we had to figure out what was going to be their next lifestyle after she got out of the hospital. And we had to allow her to heal for 6 months. Well, through that process, we recognized they were no longer going to be able to stay in the home. And my husband had to go tell him that they were no longer going to be, she was no longer going to stay in the home. And he said, well, by God, I'm going to stay. And he said, fine, that's your choice. Well, he left the room and came and spoke with us. And of course, we're all bawling our eyes out because it's such a delicate situation. And next thing we know, he's coming with the walker into where we're at. And he said, well, do you think they have room for me? And we all cried again. So it was just a very, very beautiful moment, but at the same time, very, very hard to have those conversations.
You know, Karen, that reminds me of my grandpa. I think the saddest time was when my grandma passed and he was at home by himself. And then he went to this long-term care facility. They partied. Like, he was out, he had friends, they were eating, social events, like, and it like kind of turned a leaf for him, which I thought was just an incredible thing. I think he even had a girlfriend at one point, which was kind of crazy. So it's pretty cool to see that and what you do. It's so amazing. What's your favorite result that you've seen?
Well, like you just were saying, that people are much more happier. There are even some communities that offer with your rent per month a glass of wine or a beer with meal, every dinner meal every day. And so they just become much more friends. All the stresses are gone. Normally by that point, if they're not able to take care of their finances, the children are starting to take care of that, or however they have arrangement. And it's just a much more vibrant way to live. And if it's an adult family home, those adult family homes are much more pleasant to be in than what people think. There's 6 residents per home maximum for the state law. And those people end up being like family members. Even the caregivers and the private owners, they say that they treat them like family.
So Karen, let's talk about compensation and how you are compensated in your line of work.
Right. So that is a very important situation for people to realize, is that we are not paid by the people that reach out to us for help. We are paid by the assisted living place or the community or the adult family home. We are like a marketing arm for them. Some people go to them direct, but again, you don't know when you're going to them if, for instance, they will accept a pet. We know that. If you're able to smoke in the house, we know that. If there's a certain language that needs to be talked in the home or the community, we know that. You can get some information from the DSHS website, but you can't get it all, like the nit and gritty stuff that we know.
Unfortunately, believe it or not, Karen, our time's almost over. But before we do end our time here, I wanted to ask you one other question as far as a nugget that you can leave that no one else would think about maybe when they're in their 60s or getting kind of planning for that step that seems so far away but can happen so quickly. What would you leave for our listeners?
One of the things that has come up for us is there was actually a homeowner who had a pet that was over the weight of 25. And that is a no-go for a lot of communities and a lot of adult family homes. So you actually have to think in advance if you want to keep that pet for when you're going into an adult family home or assisted living. It has to be under 25 pounds and only one. You can't have multiples.
Yeah, and that is a great tip. My husband's mom, we put her in an adult family home, and we actually had to adopt her dog out. We couldn't take it in. So yeah, there's a lot of preparation. Karen, thank you so much for joining the show. It was a pleasure to interview you today.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it and happy to share the information.